Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerry Ilar, the Public Events and Engagement Coordinator on the Communications and Engagement team. We will be getting started in about 3 minutes. Feel free to use the chat box or the Q&A box if you have any questions, but we will get started in 3 minutes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerry Ilar, the Public Events and Engagement Coordinator on the Communications and Engagement team. We want to welcome you. I know parents are on their spring break, but thank you for joining us today for Parent University, Next Steps for School Year 21-22 Enrollment. We have 2 members from the enrollment team who will be facilitating questions, answering questions, and also facilitating the presentation. We do want to remind you that you can sign up for upcoming Parent University workshops at bit.ly/DCPS Parent U RSVP. So check that out. This session is also being recorded. So if you missed it, you can check it on YouTube at our DC Public Schools webpage or YouTube page. But before we get started, we do want to let you know that there are subtitles available. In the bottom right of your screen, there should be a gearbox. And if you press that, press captions and subtitles, and subtitles should be provided in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, French, not Amharic. Microsoft is still working on that. And I believe those are all of the subtitles that you can use. And then for questions and answers, if you use the Q&A box in the bottom right, you'll be seeing announcements coming through. But feel free to use that. You can ask your question anonymously, share comments, and that's one mechanism for us to answer any of your questions you may have during this session. And then for today, we want to enter this space assuming best intentions, to go hard on ideas and not on people, and then also to accept non-closure. We know that enrollment can be a little bit tricky, and so we want to make sure that the space is safe for both the presenter, people representing DCPS, and also for you. And we want to make sure this is a welcoming space for you to answer any questions you may have about the enrollment process or questions you have about schools that you're interested in attending or sending your student or your child to. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lauren Brooks, who is our lottery coordinator, and she will be leading the presentation for today.
All right, thanks so much, Jerry, and happy to be here. Again, I know this is the end, well, as Jerry explained, we know this is the end of spring break, so hoping everyone is well and that you've enjoyed your time. But just wanted to start off with a few questions, and feel free to put your responses in the chat. But the first one is, have you completed enrollment for school year 21-22? Just a simple yes or no. And then number two, if you received a My School DC lottery match, do you know what to do next? Simple yes or no to that as well. And number three, or if you didn't receive a match, you can put an NA. And then number three, did you know that you can complete enrollment this year electronically or in person? So definitely for those quick questions, feel free to drop a yes or a no into the chat. We will be happy to see the responses that we receive. So we can go on to the next slide, please. All right, and this evening we are going to be talking about next steps for school year 21-22 enrollment. Again, my name is Lauren Brooks, and we can go to the next slide. And I am the DC. That's what I figured. I apologize. My Siri is going off somehow. Okay, so I am Lauren Brooks, the DCPS lottery coordinator, and also with us this evening is the director of enrollment, Emerald Becker. Our contact information is here, as well as if you have just general enrollment questions, there's an email as well as a phone number that you can reach out to. So definitely have any additional questions that are not answered here this evening, please feel free to reach out. All right, and just a little background about DC Public Schools for anyone that's not familiar. So DC Public Schools is the local public school system of Washington, DC. Attendance to our schools is free to all DC residents. Every K-12 student who lives in Washington, DC has at least one right to attend DCPS school per grade band. So that's elementary, middle, and high, in which he or she can attend or enroll at any point in the school year. A right to attend school can be defined as a school's in-boundary or feeder pattern school. And if a family wants to attend a DCPS school outside of their in-boundary school, it is required that they apply through the My School DC lottery. And some things that we're going to touch on this evening. So just for starters, in case you were not aware, enrollment for school year 21-22 began on Friday, April 2nd. So just about 2 weeks ago. But we're going to touch on a few things. The first one being, what schools does my student have access to? How do I complete enrollment? What are the relevant deadlines I need to be aware of? How do waitlists work? And can I still apply to additional schools via the My School DC lottery? All right, so number one, what schools does my student have access to? So students in grades K-12 always have a right to attend their in-boundary school. If you're not familiar with your in-boundary elementary, middle, or high school, definitely check out the Find Your In-Boundary School, which is the link here. That's located on our Enrollment DCPS website, so definitely check that out if you are not familiar. Students who receive a match in the My School DC lottery must complete enrollment by the lottery match deadline, which is May 3rd, 2021, to secure their lottery match seat. So that means you must submit your enrollment packet along with all supporting enrollment documents and forms that are required, and be, fully enrolled in order to have that seat secured, and that must be done by May 3rd. And students may have multiple feeder options. So our feeder pattern booklet we update that annually. So definitely a good idea to check that out. But there are two types of feeder patterns that you'll see here. The first one being geographic. So your student will always have rights to their in-boundary geographic feeder school. If your student lotteried into a school and stayed through the terminal grade, that student also has access to the school's next feeder pattern school. So if you lottery into an elementary school, so long as your student completes 5th grade there, they have rights to, proceed to that next middle school, and then so long as they complete 8th grade, they can follow that track to high school. Programmatic feeder schools are a little different. So we have several programmatic feeder patterns. There are dual language schools, STEM schools, and Montessori schools. So with that, so long as your student, again, similar to lotterying into a comprehensive school, so long as the student completes that terminal grade, 5th grade or 8th grade, he or she has the right to follow that feeder pattern on to the next programmatic feeder in that, whatever that feeder pattern may be, to high school. So how do I complete enrollment for school year 21-22? Great question. There were some changes last year that occurred as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And as a result, enrollment had to turn to be completely electronic. This year, we are happy to announce that with safety and health remaining at the forefront of our minds, schools will be adhering to general safety guidelines, but they will be able to service families with providing electronic enrollment support and in person. So you can submit it through the electronic submission form, or you can go back to submitting via the hard copy paper application. Key updates for 21-22 enrollment process. Again, we already mentioned this, but the electronic submission and in-person process for 21-22 school year began on Friday, April 2nd. And another reminder, again, which we're going to keep just, putting that reminder out there, is that the lottery match deadline is Monday, May 3rd. We say 5 p.m. because most school staff are out of the building by that time. So we just, again, want you to know that, it's important to, get it in by the end of that day, so that way the school can ensure that it is counted and processed. All right, so again, how do I complete enrollment for school year 21-22? There aren't any changes this year for families, but alternative methods for submitting necessary documentation are available. So definitely please connect with your schools, or feel free to visit our enrollment website if you have specific questions, or feel free to, if you have questions tonight, drop them in the chat. Ultimately, IC is the authoritative agency for determining how families can prove residency. So we definitely will work with the families, but we follow guidelines set by IC. Okay. So again, to complete enrollment, we try to keep this as simple as possible for families. We have our, again, as I stated earlier, the enrollment website. So we encourage everyone to go onto our enrollment website and read the FAQs, which are available in all 6 languages. Here is a direct link to the FAQ page. And then gather the necessary supporting documentation for upload as needed. If you're new to a DCPS school, what's needed is 1 proof of age. So an example would be a birth certificate, hospital record, previous school record, passport, or baptismal certificate. Proof of residency is also needed. We have a link to the residency form for a complete list of acceptable documents and verification methods. And then if you are a returning student to a DCPS school, all that will be required is the proof of DC residency. Again, the residency form has a complete list of acceptable documents and verification methods. Lastly, after you read the FAQs, gather all of your necessary documents. That's when you can complete the SY 2021 enrollment packet. And it is available in all 6 languages: English, Spanish, French, Vietnamese, Amharic, and I'm forgetting one. My apologies, but I know it's on the next slide, I believe. Okay. So The electronic enrollment submission process is mobile friendly, meaning you can use your phone, a tablet, iPad to submit. Our schools are also happy to welcome your families back into their buildings safely to complete enrollment. Schools are equipped to support families with enrollment who speak another language other than English. And I apologize, I blanked on the previous screen, but those languages are English, Amharic, Chinese, French, Spanish, and Vietnamese. Schools are, again, ready to support you and help you through the entire enrollment process. We have a link for you to contact your school if you need help completing your packet. All right, so what are the relevant deadlines I need to be aware of? So, of course, we've been saying this several times throughout this presentation already, but the 2021-22 deadline to enroll and claim a lottery match seat is 5 p.m. on Monday, May 3rd. For waitlist offers, any student who is offered a seat from a waitlist more than 5 business days in advance of Monday, May 3rd will also be given Monday, May 3rd to enroll and accept that offer. So again, I'm going to say that again. I know that it's a little confusing. So if your student receives a waitlist offer prior to at least 5 business days in advance of Monday, May 3rd, the deadline will also be May 3rd. So let's say your student received a waitlist offer today to enroll into a school that they are waitlisted number 1. They will have until May 3rd, just like matches. Now, if a student receives a waitlist offer on May 3rd, which is, again, at that point when schools will begin to start leveraging their waitlist more, that's when the period will switch into a 5-day period. So that family receives an offer on May 3rd, they will have 5 business days to accept that offer or decline a seat. Again, if you need extensions, it is up to the individual schools and their availability to provide you with that, but we do encourage you to reach out with those types of questions. Schools are often very amenable. And then for our in-boundary, re-enrolling, and feeder families, there is no deadline, but we always like to encourage families, the earlier you enroll, the better. There's no need to wait if you know where your student is going to be going to school and you're just going to be, in boundary or re-enrolling feeder. You're not waiting for a waitlist offer, then why wait? If you have everything you need to prove residency, again, the earlier the better. Submit it as soon as you can. And how do waitlists work? Okay, this is an important question that we often get. So an offer off of a waitlist is never guaranteed. Schools will make offers in chronological order. So that's always number 1. They have to start at the top of the list and work their way down to the bottom. If a child re-enrolls in their current school, they will not lose their spot on waitlists. So for other schools, but once a waitlist offer has been extended, it is up to the individual family whether they want to accept or decline it. Declining it does remove your child from that school's waitlist, and if you later change your mind, you will likely need to reapply to get added back to the waitlist, and likely your position will not be as good as it was previously. If you are already on a waitlist, you cannot reapply. Again, reapplying does not serve any good purpose. You will just be placed, lower on the wait list. And lastly, after enrolling via a waitlist offer, students will remain waitlisted for schools that were ranked higher than the enrolled school. And another important question, can I still apply in the My School DC lottery? So families, now know that the deadlines have passed, lottery results are released. But the good news is you can still apply in the post lottery and be added to the school waitlist of your choosing. If your student was found to be not waitlisted or ineligible, which is only found at our selective high schools and programs, you can definitely reapply, and you can reapply now. If you need help with applying to, via My School DC, the My School DC hotline is always available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. At this number, and you can also send them an email. And before we get to questions, just want to go on to the next few slides just because we have a few other reminders. We will come back. So just want to share, we have some additional resources. If you have questions, we encourage you to take the following steps. Again, visit the DCPS enrollment website, contact your school directly with specific school-related enrollment questions, or you can contact the DCPS enrollment team. And again, for specific lottery questions, you may also reach out to My School DC. We do have an appendix here. I'm just going to go through this briefly. So in this appendix, we have what is a out-of-boundary school. So this just touches on, what an out-of-boundary school is, which is any other school other than your in-boundary or your geographic feeder pattern school. Again, students do not have automatic rights to attend out-of-boundary schools. The only way to gain access is to receive a match or a waitlist offer via the My School DC lottery. And then what is a feeder pattern? It is a school that a student has rights to based on the completion of the terminal grade of your current school. This assignment only happens during the years a student moves from elementary to middle or middle to high school, or from an education campus to a high school. Next slide. And then again, we already touched on geographic feeder patterns and programmatics, but just sharing a little more context here. Geographic feeder patterns are based solely on where you live, where your home address is, and then programmatic are based on the three programmatic programs of study that DCPS offers: dual language, Montessori, and STEM. And then when do I use the My School DC lottery? This is always important as well. So families interested in enrolling in any school other than their current in-boundary or feeder school are required to apply via the My School DC lottery. A lottery application is required to apply to attend as a preschool or pre-kindergarten student in any DCPS school not currently attended. So that does include in-boundary schools. So even if you are in boundary for a school at pre-K3 or pre-K4, a lottery application is still required. Next, we have students that are in K through 12 and would like to attend a DCPS out-of-boundary school. Students that are also looking to attend a citywide school. Citywide schools do not have boundaries, so every new student that enters is required to go through the lottery. Then we have DCPS selective high schools, which, similar to our citywide schools, do not have boundaries, so everyone that is new is required to go through the lottery. A lottery application is not required to enroll in grades K through 12 at your in-boundary or feeder school, nor is it required to re-enroll at your current school. And then what happens when I accept a match? So a student always maintains the right to attend an in-boundary school in grades K through 12. If a student enrolls in a lottery match school, a family acknowledges that they are giving up the student's rights to their current school for the upcoming school year, and the current school's feeder pattern if the school's current school is not an in-boundary school. Additionally, once a student withdraws from their out-of-boundary school to attend another lottery match school via DCPS or DC Public Charter School, or to attend a private homeschool or any other school, the student will be required to reapply via the My School DC lottery if they wish to return to their former out-of-boundary school. And that is, I believe, going to conclude the presentation. So we're going to go back for any questions that we have. So Jerry, did you want to?
Yep.
Do you want me to go directly to the chat?
Let me facilitate a couple of questions right now.
Okay.
And then we can go to the Q&A chat.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to pitch this question that was asked from our Eventbrite. So this parent is in the Ludlow Taylor Elementary School feeder pattern, or the in-school boundary. So their question: if not currently enrolled in kindergarten at Ludlow Taylor Elementary School, or generally if someone has the same question at their elementary school, how do we go about enrolling our student for first grade at Ludlow Taylor or their in-boundary school?
Perfect. Yeah. So once a student gets to kindergarten, they are in boundary to a school, you have rights. You don't have to go through the lottery. So they would just go online and, go into Seamless and submit an electronic application, or they can opt to, go directly to the school and submit a paper application. They can also print the paper application from online if they so choose, so that way they can, have it completed when they go to the school. But for families that are in boundary, once the student gets to kindergarten, a lottery application is not required because, again, that is their right to attend schools.
Awesome. The next question, kind of similar. Emerald was able to answer this question, but just want to pitch this to everyone. If we are not new, but haven't been enrolled in DC Public Schools for school year 2020 to 2021, do we follow the returning or new instructions?
So you would follow your new instructions at that point. So anytime you withdraw, you come back to DCPS, you are considered a new student.
And then actually we have a couple more questions coming through, but there is a question just about submitting information. If they want to not have all their personal information shown, is there a way to redact some of the information or make sure that you're not sharing your private information? So for example, pay stub and proof of residency, there's extra information that they don't want to share on there. Is there a way to just show what's relevant for applications or enrollment?
Yes, so you will be able to redact some of that information, but I would say, or Emerald, if you want to jump in, definitely confirm with the school first what is needed and before you do that. But yes, that is an option.
Yep, and that's exactly right. We would need to review the document directly. So I would just work with your school directly, and they can tell you what can't be redacted in order for the document to be sufficient and what they can.
Thanks, Emerald. The second question, we were matched for a pre-K4 at our in-boundary school with an in-boundary preference. We're thinking about moving over the summer. How long do we have to stay in boundary to keep this spot?
So you would have to enroll via in-boundary. If you received an in-boundary preference to the lottery and you enroll via an out-of-boundary address, you will lose that match, unfortunately. So you will need to be in boundary since you were given that preference, and likely you were matched because you were in boundary. Now, also, maybe there is a chance that you would still be matched if you were out of boundary. It depends on the demand that the school received of other in-boundary families, but it is highly advised. You are taking a risk by changing your address and then attempting to enroll. So if you can, wait a bit until your student is enrolled and then move, we do suggest that, but understanding that, things happen where you may have to move sooner, but that a in-boundary address is required to keep that match and to secure your enrollment.
So just to clarify, the earlier you enroll, the better in this case, correct?
For that particular instance, yes, but the family, Emerald, correct me if I'm wrong, do they need to start the school year in boundaries? Like if they move in July and then, if they submitted their enrollment packet in May and then move in July, do you know, Emerald, for sure if the school can go back and
yeah, so I just responded in the chat. So essentially, if you were matched with an in-boundary preference, you have to enroll as in-boundary. Basically, at the time of enrollment, you have to be in-boundary in order to maintain the preference. And if you move out of boundary after enrollment, that's okay. You will have rights through the terminal grade of the school, but you will not have rights through the full feeder pattern. If you want to stay, like, for example, if you're enrolling as in-boundary in pre-K4, you have rights through the terminal grade of that school, but if you want to go to the feeder middle school, you will have to reapply for that middle school. If you enroll after you move out of boundary, you will lose that preference and most likely the seat. I hope that's helpful.
Thanks.
And I just put, yeah, no problem. I just put that in the chat as well.
Thanks so much.
We'll stay online for a couple more minutes as people are still formulating their questions. But for Lauren, there's an event coming up on April 24th, correct? Can you talk a little bit about Enrollment Saturday?
Absolutely. So Enrollment Saturday will take place on April 24th. Emerald, if you don't mind, can you drop the participating schools link from our enrollment page into the chat? My director is going to drop that in the chat for you all. But this is a list of schools that will be open on Enrollment Saturday. This is a day where schools will be available to accept enrollment packets outside of the normal Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30-ish business hours that schools typically have. A lot of families aren't able to accommodate, those hours. So we partnered with My School DC 4 years ago, and when they started this event, and we've been participating every year with the exception of last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We had to cancel it. But we're excited. Enrollment Saturday normally brings a good turnout. It will be in person this year, so schools will provide in-person support, and they will be providing phone support for families that are opting not to come in person. But definitely, if you're looking to, make sure you accept your match by the May 3rd deadline. You're welcome to definitely come out for this event. Or if you're looking to enroll your re-enrollers, your in-boundary, your feeder students, definitely all families are welcome to come out for this event. It will be starting at 9 a.m. Most schools will be done by 12, but some schools will have extended hours. So definitely, if you know the school you're enrolling in, just make sure you check their hours. And also some schools will be co-located at other schools. So just make sure you're checking the address to confirm that you are going to the right place. But we're hoping for a good turnout. Again, just trying to make sure families do not have barriers to completing enrollment. So we look forward to, hopefully seeing you, at your respective schools and providing you with all resources that you need.
Lauren, I think those are all the questions that we have right now.
Okay.
Actually, we just had one.
Okay.
How can you find out your child's lottery number?
Yeah, so you can log into your My School DC account, or you can contact the My School DC hotline.
Perfect. And just thinking about the upcoming school year, if parents are still on the fence about which schools they want to send their students to, are schools doing open houses or meet and greets or anything like that during COVID, or how else can they connect with their preferred school or schools just to get more information before finally going through that enrollment process?
Gotcha. Yes. So schools, typically most open houses are hosted earlier in the year, but we do have a good amount of schools that are still hosting open houses. But if you're interested in doing, an open house or a virtual tour of your school that you're interested in, definitely, I would say reach out directly to the school. On our enrollment page, we have all open houses posted, so that's available for you, for the public to see. But if you want specifically a virtual tour or to see, I don't think schools are doing in-person tours yet. I know they were planning to. I don't know that it has started. But definitely reach directly out, reach out to the school directly, and they can definitely set something up with you.
I think this might be just a very specific question, but
Okay.
Is on the My School DC account, when trying to determine the lottery number, it just has a waitlist number at a higher ranked school. Is that the same thing as the lottery number, or is that different?
So your waitlist position is not your lottery tracking number. So your lottery tracking number is what schools will use to identify that your student was placed via the My School DC lottery. Your waitlist number just shows where you are on the waitlist. So if you're ranked number 20 on the waitlist, that means there are 19 students that would have access to enroll prior to your student.
Awesome. I'm going to close out, but if there's more questions, feel free. We have about another minute or so. I know this event goes until 6:30, but it sounds like most of the questions that have been answered. So as we're closing out, I do want to remind you that you can find this recording on the DC Public Schools YouTube page. And then if you have additional questions, to email enroll, ENROLL at k12.dc.gov, and the enrollment team, so Lauren and Emerald, will be able to answer your questions.
Definitely.
We also have a couple more Parent University sessions coming up, so check out the bit.ly link, bit.ly DCPS Parent U RSVP to look out for additional sessions that are coming up for the rest of April and May. And I believe there's one more question that popped up. Let me just make sure.
So
it might be a very specific question. I think, Lauren, you may have seen it.
Yep, I see it. So it would be listed as the application tracking number. So it should be, as soon as you log in, you should see it. Again, if you're not seeing it, feel free to reach out offline here and we can connect, or reach directly out to the My School DC hotline. But in the application, it'll say application tracking number, and it should be directly when you log in to your account.
Perfect. And the information for additional resources are still there, so you can connect with Emerald and Lauren if you have additional questions, or with your school community as well, or your school leaders. So definitely reach out to enroll at k12.dc.gov if you're still having problems accessing the My School DC lottery website, or trying to navigate the website. And let me just check. I think we are all set with questions.
Awesome.
And Lauren, I just want to say thank you, Lauren and Emerald, for joining us tonight and presenting on enrollment for school year 2021 to 2022.
Yes.
And then for all of our attendees on the opposite side, we look forward to seeing you join us at DC Public Schools if you're not already a DCPS family member, or to re-enrolling. Definitely check out April 24th for Enrollment Saturday. But with that, I want to wish you all a good evening and enjoy the rest of your spring break.
Thanks so much, Jerry, and thank you everyone that has joined this evening.